Good to see you, man.
Dude,
how you doing?
This is so good.
I know. I'm excited to do it.
So this is almost less than a year in the making, but we were here before the spring game.
Yes.
And I've obviously had the privilege of getting to know you, and really wanted to, talk to you just because I think your story is so inspiring and you can help a lot of people. And I vividly remember us being here. One thing I remember is that you destroyed me in golf.
My golf game was probably a little better, a little more polished
Yes,
than it is now, but that's all right.
No, you're a stick. And the second thing I remember, we were watching the Red Wings game like we talked about, and that was actually an amazing game, and they pulled it out, but then
the other team won, so then they didn't make it yet.
But just your quiet confidence, because this was right before the spring game, of which you balled out. You played well in the spring game, but just like not cockiness, not brashness, just a quiet confidence in your ability. And I really just admired that aspect and thought it would be great for us to catch up. And
it's going to be fun.
Yeah, so we should
tell
play
the story
some golf.
a little bit and let's do it.
All
Awesome.
right, awesome.
Let's go make it happen. Here we go.
I know your story's been well documented.
Yep.
I just think the resiliency you show, the humility you show, the charitable work you put in. I think of anyone, I don't care who you are, the most valuable resource anyone has is time.
Yeah.
So people that give their time to others, I think is the most inspirational, and you certainly do that. I just, more on the human aspect, take me back to, this was March 2019.
2019.
And, you weren't feeling well. You finally get that diagnosis.
Yeah.
And cancer. What goes through your mind?
I mean, it's just, that first is just like the shock of it, right? Like that's not what you expect. You kind of get a feel that something's wrong. I think for me, I wasn't feeling well for a couple weeks. My dad is like, hey, he just had that fatherly instinct, I think, that all parents, I think, have a little bit with their kids. He's like, man, something's really off. And just was like, hey, we got to go get you checked out, go to the local urgent care. They don't have the tools there to diagnose cancer. But just the way in which that urgent care doctor talked to me and said, hey, you got to get up to Children's Hospital Los Angeles. I knew there was something wrong, and you kind of just sensed it. And I think that's something, and then you get up to the Children's Hospital, and, Children's Hospital Los Angeles is an incredible place. They treat a ton of kids. It's right in the heart of LA. The ER there is, there's a lot of people going in there to get treated for all sorts of different things. And so the ER room, waiting room is packed, right? Kids with broken arms, kids crying. It's not a great spot. And then you get there, and I.
And how old were you?
I was 17.
17. So 17 years old at a children's hospital, that dynamic.
Yeah, there's definitely some friction there, I think. And then you say your name at the front desk, and they take you right back to a room. You kind of realize, oh, wow, maybe there is really an issue here. And just those kind of signs kind of started to put it together in my head of oh, wow, maybe there's something lurking. And then, 3 hours later, a doctor comes in and tells you have cancer. And it's a really, just feel the blood drain out of your face, kind of all those feelings that you'd expect. And I think the biggest thing is just the unknown, right? You really don't know, okay, what type do I have? The only thing I knew about cancer at the time, it didn't really run in my family. So the only thing I knew was things that you see on, college game day segments and stuff like that. You just don't know.
You never think.
Exactly. Never think that would be me. And so, the only thing you think of for me as a seventh is you think cancer, you think death, really. That's those are the two words that go together. And I think just the biggest thing that helped me was being able to kind of just have doctors that said, hey, here's what's happening. This is what's your issue is. This is how we're going to treat it. And then it took me a little bit of time to kind of cultivate a mindset of hey,
how long did it take you to go from why me to, okay?
It took a couple weeks, and I also felt like the more that the I still had to wrestle with that, and I still wrestle with it now. Even is like, why me? You know, so that question never really goes away. And I think, or the why me question, or the question of like, oh, like why did I deserve this? Why did this have to happen to me? And then at the same time, the other side of it is like, you know, why did I get so lucky? You know, to come out the other side, to be able to be healthy, to play football again, to play golf again, to do the things I love to do. So it's kind of of a double-edged sword there of just like kind of always asking those questions and kind of looking for answers. But I think it, like you said, like it took me time to get to a point where I was like, hey, I'm like, let's go. Like, let's attack this thing head on. Let's make it a competition. I'm super competitive. So how do I make it a competition with the big scary monster that is cancer, right? And that helped me mentally just set myself up to try to live my life with the cancer how I wanted to.
Yeah. Does not get better. That's a tough act to follow. Nice shot.
But yeah, I think kind of like you said, like just that the mental side was so huge for me of just dealing with it and feeling like.
Well, I saw, I think just a video kind of, interview with you, and one of the videos had you out in the courtyard or in front of the hospital.
Playing catch.
With your.
Yeah, that was like the day after I got diagnosed. I don't know why, like I used to bring my football everywhere growing up. Family vacations, didn't matter if we were going to Mexico or going like driving up to Yosemite, like I was bringing my football. Yeah. Like it was just like a part of me. And for some reason I was like, I don't know how long I'm gonna be at the hospital for. Like might as well just bring my football, you know? Like I don't know, like I might need it at some point. I might have some free time. I don't know what the hospital looks like. I don't know where it is. Might as well just bring it. So I brought it with me, and then, got diagnosed on a Friday night. Nothing happens at a hospital over the weekend. So I'm just waiting until Monday to get all these, they had like a schedule of like 30 things I had to get done on Monday of tests and doctors and all this stuff. I think it was Sunday morning or Saturday, and I was like, Dad, can we just go play catch? And, we asked the doctor, and yeah, you guess, I was no sicker 2 days before I got diagnosed than 2 days after. Yeah. Right? But you feel different, right? And when someone tells you feel like a different person.
Totally.
But the 2 days before, I was still, one of the issues that I had was I couldn't even lift like the warm-up weight in the weight room when I was, the day before I got diagnosed for like our kind of winter conditioning. Like
just out of nowhere.
Yeah, totally. Like literally couldn't even pick it up. And I was like, holy smokes. But I still, tried to go through the workout somewhat. Of course. And then like 2 days before that, we had, we'd all get together and would throw together after school, and I still did that. So I wasn't that much sicker then than I was, but you felt different. But just to be able to go out there and play catch with my dad, like so that was huge. And just, I think that honestly, the more I think about it, and the more you bring it up, like that kind of set the tempo for my whole treatment of like, I'm still me, Davis didn't die. He's still here. And that just really helped me out.
How long were you in the hospital?
I got diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia. It's super uncommon in kids. Probably, I think like 5% of kids end up with that type of leukemia versus the other type. The other type is 3 years of treatment, where it's like 1 year of pretty intense and then 2 years of kind of where you wouldn't even be able to tell that the kid's still getting oral chemo at home. But I don't know how it works out like this, but the AML, even though it's a shorter treatment cycle, is just it's more deadly. Yeah. And so, they told me 5 to 8 months, 4 rounds of chemo, super intense. So you're basically inpatient the whole time, no outpatient. And that was the timeline. And I remember like basically the second question I asked my doctor was like, how quickly can I play football again? Like really, that was a huge part of it for me, and that competition factor of getting back out there. And coach sent me the schedule, and there was a game on October 3rd, and I thought, April, May, June, July, August, that's like 5 months. Give me about a month and a half or so to kind of get healthy again, and then I could go play. And that was the idea I had in my head. And that's thinking that way now, knowing everything I know about childhood cancer, totally should not have thought that way. Sure. But it's just what went through my head, and that's what I wanted, and it was important for me. And but yeah, a lot of time at Children's Hospital Los Angeles, maybe too much time.
How did you end up at Michigan?
Yeah, so the journey to Michigan was a windy one because, before I got sick, I was getting recruited a fair amount, but not at a crazy high level. A lot of Ivy League schools and, smaller Power 5 programs. But most college coaches don't have to deal with someone telling them, hey, I got cancer, Yeah. And so a lot of them I never heard from again. But actually some still kept in touch, even if they, weren't recruiting me anymore. Because, for whatever reason, and they got to move on and they got to find someone, right? They don't know if I'm going to be able to play at football ever again. But yeah, once I kind of came out of it and played a little bit that fall, started feeling better, and felt like, okay, I can really do this, and I can really play at a high level. And like, I have the talent. I've just kind of been stuck being sick. And then, the high school season before I got sick, my team decided to run the triple option with a new coach, which didn't really suit me very well. And so just didn't feel like things were going my way. But then, yeah, ended up kind of my coaches that I trained with out in LA, they kind of know a lot of people, and they were like, hey, like, you got to go big. I don't want you going to a little school. You got too much talent. And a lot of the training with a lot of guys out there who, college, NFL guys, and just being around them and being like, man, like I can throw at this level, and like I'm here. And so they kind of talked around a little bit, and we're like, hey, like, you're probably gonna have to go walk on somewhere. You're not get a scholarship. You don't need film. And they asked me like, hey, where do you want to go? I was like, oh man, Michigan would be great. Like, I knew it was a great school, knew the tradition, knew Coach Harbaugh and everything that so they kind of worked some stuff, and before I knew it, I was, started talking to one of their coaches, and then Coach Harbaugh called me, and he, offered me, he's like, hey man, we'd love to have you join the team. And I had some other opportunities too, but
Sure.
I just kind of knew that Michigan was where I wanted to be. And Coach Harbaugh really treated me like I was a scholarship guy and like recruited me as such.
Yeah. Awesome.
And really made me feel like he wanted me, which was huge because most, walk-ons, they don't get that.
Sure.
But he made me feel that and helped me get into Ross and stuff like that. And then when I got here, like, treated me like I belonged. And I think he realized that, I had some potential, and I just, I had a different path, but still an opportunity, and that's all you can ask for. But yeah, even when I got here, like, I remember my first practice, I threw a pass in routes on air, and he was like yelling like, great throw or something. And that just gave me some confidence that, like, I belonged and that he cared about my development. And he's just a really special guy, so.
I want to fast forward. So I alluded to earlier, us sitting here, quiet confidence.
Yep.
Spring game comes.
Yep.
2 touchdowns.
Yep. It was a good day.
Played well.
Yeah.
Fast forward to camp and being named the starter.
Yeah.
I remember texting you, but that's a fairy tale in my opinion. Like, you're being named the starter at the University of Michigan. Like, not many people can say that in the entire world.
Yeah.
Right? So how was that?
It was special. I mean, Coach Moore, and having him, sitting down with him and him just being proud of me and believing in me and kind of just being proud of the work that I put in, and me being proud of the work that I put in, right? And like, kind of makes you think about like your village, right? And like all the people that helped you get to where you are, whether it's my parents or my quarterback coaches or my coaches at Michigan or my friends or even my doctors that I've had.
Yeah.
Just everyone that's been there along the way and kind of helped in the journey. And knowing that they could see the success and kind of that accomplishment was pretty special. But I do think it flips pretty quickly. Like, we got a game. We got to go win football games now, and we got a lot of work to do. So it was, but just kind of having that moment, calling my parents and letting them know, and them being excited for me, and Like you said, like, you know, such a long journey to get to that point, even just from January when JJ declared. I remember him sitting in our living room telling the, you know, me and the guys that he was going to leave.
Sure.
And in my head, that was like, oh, wow. All right, like, here we go. This is all you can ask for, right?
Yeah.
Is an opportunity. And, you know, JJ did so much for me and for this program and this university. And then, like, being like, now it's your opportunity to go do that. And then just really just honing into the work, to the process, and trying to just, like, what can I do to take my game to an even higher level?
Sure.
And I knew it was already a lot of the same stuff that I was already doing, but it was like, how can I improve even more, right? And then just,
well, the world changes too. It's not. I mean, no matter what team, quarterback's going to get. You know,
quarterback gets it all, and I think
yeah.
they also look right. The team looks to you. So even like that first day of spring ball, Coach Campbell made a comment that, you know, like, hey, this, you know, there's so many mainstays of this program who are gone, right? Like guys who had been there since my freshman year, whether it was Blake, whether it was Trevor Keegan, whether it was Zach Zinner, whether it was, you know, Cornelius Johnson or Roman, all these guys who.
Well, that 3 years.
Yeah, it almost was like an NFL team where we had the same kind of core for most of that time, and like that's just not normal in college football. Normally, it's like your guy's really good for a year and then he's gone.
Especially.
Yeah, and so
this
like
day and age of college
so it's
football.
like just that feeling of going out for that first spring ball practice and being like, hey, like this offense is looking to you to be in command, to be prepared, to be in charge, to do things the right way, to lead this group, whether we were having a great day or whether we were struggling. Like that was, you know, real responsibility, and all of us as quarterbacks took that on, of just being prepared to, like, you know, and also because there's competitions happening everywhere. Like there's a competition in the line, there's a competition at receiver, there's competitions, you know, all over the field.
The offense was entirely
so
brand new.
Everyone's looking at the quarterback competition, but it's happening all over the place. And like how we carry ourselves and support each other is how everyone else is too. So it's a responsibility, but I loved it. I was like, bring it on, you know, like I want that. I want that responsibility, and I was like super pumped for it, obviously.
So talk to me about how life and you've just had to, the things you've had to deal with off the field, meaning like the criticism, the social media thing. Like, you know, we talked about before, and just because I know you as a person and we're friends, like to go onto Twitter and see like the
people
trolls
talking about you,
and like, you know, there's a lot of losers out there, quite frankly. And look, you know, people have the right to voice their, that's the greatest part about America in general. But, you know, most people don't know the entire story, the situations,
or know,
and
you know,
like
how football actually works or anything like that.
100%. But yeah, like obviously, you know, criticism is going to come
and
with,
I think
come with the territory.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something I've had to learn a little bit, just how to deal with it. And I think just keeping that circle tight is a huge part of it. Because even, you know, I think, you know, that's a good-looking shot. Really good-looking shot. People want to say, oh, it's different or it's that, but wow, great swing. People deal with it in all walks of life. Like if you know, the gossip at the office or this happening or that, or like at school. So it always exists.
But if I have a bad day,
there's
not like 70,000 people telling me about it.
It's true. It's true. But
online.
And I think just to, you know, you try to block it out, obviously. And I think I try to do a pretty good job of like the social media stuff, just none of it, and just staying off it. But I think you still hear it, right? Because the media is asking questions during the press conferences that are based on the thoughts that they have, which is, you know, they're trying to get a pulse of the fan base. So you kind of like, in the way the questions are worded, you still kind of hear it to a certain extent. But I think just trying to like really be true to who I am and trust myself and trust what the coaches are telling me. And then like the people like my parents and, you know, like I said, the quarterback coaches I have out in LA, who do a great job, and like talking to them on a weekly basis and just keeping that at the center. Yeah. Like, you have to, or else you're going to drive yourself crazy.
And the basics, I'm sure, too. Like, once you start thinking about all these other things,
yeah,
like
then you forget that at the end of the day, like, it is still just a game. You know, that you played in the backyard, you played as a kid, that you enjoy. But I think even like golf has helped me with the mental side of football, because I think like golf's a game of misses, and like you rarely. How often do you hit a perfect shot in golf, right? Like maybe if you make a putt. That's like the clearest example of like, man, I couldn't have hit that shot any better. But like every other shot, you rarely hit it exactly where you want to, you know? And so it's like, how do you deal with that miss? Yeah. How do you move on from it, like compartmentalize it, and then like move forward? And I just think that, you know, just that thing for me is just like having that neutral mindset of like.
Well, that's a good segue. So I've become a golf junkie, and I know you love the game.
Yep.
And I know there's so many, for me at least, it's one way as you get older to stay somewhat competitive and go to great places and meet great people and be outside and all those things.
Still why I love it, so maybe I'm an old soul a little bit too already.
Grew up in LA, and you had good fortune to play at one of the, I think, most spectacular places you can play golf. That U.S. Open, what year was the U.S. Open at LAC?
23.
That was the coolest.
It's pretty cool.
Like, it was an enigma. Like, you know, not a lot
Very
of
different.
access.
Very different.
Yeah. So, what's your favorite hole?
Favorite hole? Oof.
At LACC.
Okay. I mean,
or holes.
I love 6, which is like the short drivable par 4. I think that's just such a great hole.
In general, I tend to love short par 4s.
It's just a fun hole. It's not my favorite hole I've ever played, but I think it's just such a great hole and a fun hole. I got to go up to Bandon Dunes this summer, or this spring, which was really fun with my dad. And there's, you know, it's hard to beat. I've never been to like Scotland or Ireland or anything like that, but some of those holes were just unbelievable.
For us in, you know, literally in Ann Arbor, Metro Detroit, it's actually almost easier to get to Scotland than Bandon.
I can imagine. Bandon's a hike. Yeah. It's up there.
And that's on my list.
It is spectacular, and just like being on the water and kind of dealing with the elements. The first day it was like blowing 40, and I kind of enjoyed it a little bit. Like the maybe that's just like the mindset that I had, but just like that idea of like dealing with it and grinding a little bit. Like I like when golf feels like you're outside. It feels like you're dealing with a little something, and you're, like you said, like the idea of being out in nature, being for a walk, you know, enjoying who you're with, like, and then just like that competition with yourself of every shot. Yeah. How can I do better than I did on the last shot or the last hole? Or how can I approach this creatively to hit a good shot? Like, those are the things that I just like keeps my competitive gears flowing, even when, you know, football isn't, I don't have access to football. Great swing. It's funny because I really didn't golf that much until I came here. Like I golfed, but I just, really good swing. I played a lot of other sports in, you know, elementary school and middle school and high school, so I didn't really get time to work on my golf game much until I came to Michigan. Funny enough, when it was just...
Well, there's actually great golf. I mean, at one point, Michigan had like top 3 amount of golf courses.
Even within an hour drive of here, there's just so many good places. Unfortunately, the weather prevents us from enjoying it.
We're getting to that point right now. That's why we're playing in here. This just sounds different. It's not fair. What's your best round ever? I guess both score-wise and just like your best round.
Best round, I shot 67 at UMich this summer. So that was a good...
That's a good... I just want to give context, you know, to everyone listening. That's insane.
That was my first round ever under par. So finally broke that barrier.
On a Mackenzie course.
Which was a lot of fun.
If you had a 175 shot, what are you hitting?
I'm probably hitting... just a soft 8.
Hard 6.
Does make the game a little easier when you got juice, but I will say, I've never met anyone. The guy JJ hits it further than anyone I've ever seen, and me and him will stay out of the pond. And me and him, we spent a lot of time golfing together in the spring and summer in the last couple of years, and had a lot of good, just enjoyable moments out there. He really got into it once he came here, and we had a lot of fun. So he's and I know he's like, he enjoys it for the same reasons I do, right? Like being out in nature, having that competition, especially in the summers when, you work out in the morning, you throw, and then you want something to do for the rest of the day.
Sure.
And we both still have that kind of little kid in us that just wants to be outside all the time. There's the swing. But just playing courses around here, and like it was getting to go to different spots. It was, a lot of fun.
Yeah, speaking of quarterback relationships, I read, and we talked a little bit about just you knowing Jared Goff, and kind of you guys both being from California and spending time in different camps and seeing one another, and now being both in the same state.
It's
so cool.
Pretty cool. And just seeing his kind of resurgence and resilience that he has is like inspiring for me, because I'm like, man, that's pretty sweet. But yeah, we met for the first time. He was coming as a counselor to the Elite 11 camp when I was like in 7th grade, and I just went to go watch all these high school kids compete, and he was coming just to kind of counsel them a little bit. Oh, thought that was money.
I'll let you hit eventually.
And then he sent, when I first got sick, he sent me a video. Someone at the Rams kind of set it up and sent it, and then actually 6 months later, I saw him. He was at this golf outing, and I saw him there, and I was still kind of not feeling 100%, didn't look right, but I just went up to him and I said, "Hey, Jared, like, Davis, you sent me a video. I just want to say, like, I really appreciate it. Like, I'm feeling better now. I'm starting to come out of my treatment." And I think he thought that was cool, because I'm sure he sends, one video every week to somebody, and probably never gets to meet him. So that was cool. And then we trained with the same quarterback coaches down in Orange County, and fast forward 8 months, I'm feeling a lot better and throwing and everything. And I see him down there, and I went, and he was like, "Hey, are you Davis?" I was like, "Yeah, that's me." And he was like, "Oh my gosh." He's like, "Dude, you look great. Like, you've been throwing it." He's like, "Dude, you're spinning out there. You gotta." He's like, "Well, where are you going to play college ball?" And I was like, "Well, I had some preferred walk-on offers right now, some Ivy League stuff, just trying to figure it out as I get healthy." And he was like, "Hey, man, like," he's like, "Would you be interested in going to Cal?" I was like, "Yeah, maybe, like that'd be pretty cool." And so like within a couple hours, I'm on the phone with the recruiting guy at Cal, and didn't end up working out, but it just kind of started our relationship. And then, I went to Michigan, he gets traded out here, and we've kind of been seeing each other every off season down in LA, because he's still got a house out there and trains out there. And so we kind of catch up every off season a couple times and see each other.
Can he swing it?
He's got a pretty good swing, I think. We've never golfed together, but and then after the Texas game, he sent, we were kind of on talking terms, but not too. He's just out of nowhere, I got a text from him. I don't know who sent him my number, but he just sent me a text saying, way to battle out there at the end of the day and keep fighting, and super proud of you. And then we've kind of been keeping in touch, and I just love the way he plays the game. I think he just really does it the right way. And
talk about being written off, and literally
totally,
like I think he's front runner for MVP candidate.
Yeah,
so
just like the revival and the resilience, and being able to kind of just, block out all the noise and be yourself. Might be too much gas. And then, thanks. And then when, we started.
That's a birdie.
I've been trying to learn from him too, and even when I, wasn't playing well at the start of the year and was turning the ball over too much, I just was like, hey, let me go back and watch every Jared Goff throw to a running back in the past 2 years. So I had one of coaches helped me pull them together, and just kind of watching. That is tasty as well. There we go. And now he does a good job of like being smart with the football, protecting the ball, and when it's not there, checking it down, moving on.
Yeah.
And learning from him that way. So I ended up mentioning it. And
by the way, he threw 5 interceptions last.
I know.
But they won.
They won. And it's like that idea of like that neutral mindset, and like I know he talks about in his press conference sometimes, just like, hey, like each moment, each play is an independent event and has no bearing on the last or the next, right? Just like when you flip a coin, right? Like you flip it once, it says heads. There's no reason why the next time it flips, it should be tails, right? Or heads again. Like it's still 50-50. Yeah. And that same concept applies to football, it applies to life. And just that's something that like I've really kept and keeps me in the right mindset in whatever I'm doing, because like you said, like,
well, it's working today with golf.
You have the high of like being the starter, and then like you get benched. It's like, how do you, right? Like you want to characterize that. You want to like, well, why is it again? Like just like when I got sick, it's like, well, why is this happening to me? Why does this have to happen? Man, I thought I worked really hard. Like I don't deserve that. But you know, if you don't always get what you deserve, you don't always get what you worked for. You got to go do, right? And I think there's like the story of the Chinese farmer, which something that me and Morgan were talking about before, of just like, and Trevor Moawad stuff, of just like that neutral idea of like.
Is that maybe?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like you don't know if what is happening to you is like the best thing that's ever happened to you, the worst thing, right? Like I probably wouldn't have gone to Michigan if I didn't get sick, right? Like that's just.
Yeah.
Or whatever, all these little things that happen.
Well, I think too, you learn from, losses, you learn from, catastrophic events, you learn from, when the chips are down. It's easy to be a great leader when everything's going well.
Yeah.
But truly inspiring people, motivating people, the work you're doing with kids, the teammate you are, the leader you are, like that, every life instance shapes
totally
all of those
and
things.
I think like I wouldn't know how resilient I am or stuff like if my back wasn't against the wall, right? And like you don't know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice you have left. Like really, like that's like a really true thing, and I think has helped me as I've kind of gone through this and tried to keep my head on straight.
That's a good segue. So 2 games left.
Yep.
I was, I'm at arm's length, but, just hearing guys like Colston, Loveland, who, have a lot to lose, just say, look, if I'm healthy, I'm playing.
Yeah.
And I love hearing that. And, this day of college football, a lot's changed, right? Like,
totally.
Guys are getting paid. There's the transfer portal. There's a lot of different factors and outside influences. But, this particular era of Michigan football, I'll call it the last 4 years, has been super inspiring. And I think, the team really was built for the last 3, to win that culmination. And obviously this is a transitional year in a lot of different ways, the coach and team and players. And
no doubt.
But how is the morale? And, because it's been, there has been some frustrations. There's still a lot left to play for, because, the one at the end of the year is
huge, huge,
pretty darn important. So, how is the morale?
I think the morale is, it's strong. And I think, like, just anecdotally, like, practice on Monday, and there's like a goal line stand and with the young guys, and it's like 4th down and goal at the 1, and everyone's crowding around to see if he got in the end zone or not. It's a huge scrum to see if he scored. Everyone's fired up. The defense is saying he didn't get in. The offense is saying he got in, and everyone's just juiced up and like excited, and it's competition. I think that's just like an example of like the type of group that we have, of like, doesn't matter what's happened at this point, like this, what's the Michigan standard, and what do we know? And what we know is competing every day, and trying to get better. Oh, that sounded good. And that is perfect. And trying to be, keep chasing, who we want to be as a team. And I think that was like a great example of it and fired everyone up and set the tempo for this bye week of like, hey, and something that, you know, Max said is like, hey, this isn't a bye week, this is a buy-in week, right? Like how are we buying in to this program even more, buying into, like Coach Moore talks about your why, like why are you here? You know, when you put your finger on the fingerprint scanner every day, like to come to this building, commit to that, right? Because your fingerprint's the only reason why you get in here, right? And your unique fingerprint. So that unique, you know, perspective you bring, the mindset, the skills, the talents, the personality, like like recommit to that. And so I think that's been a good mindset for all of us, and you know, it's putting us in the right space to go attack these last 2 weeks because it's 2 huge games for us, you know. So I think everyone's just excited to finish strong.
Yeah.
You know, and finish really on our terms of like who we want to be.
Yeah.
So, and I know it's easy.
By the way,
to
you
say,
only have
it's
135 yards out.
It's easy to say that, but it's another thing to do, and I think we are doing. So that's a reassuring thing, you know.
Yeah, it's just been fun to get to know a lot of the guys over the years, and I'm just so impressed with the maturity, leadership. Too much sauce.
Too much sauce, yeah.
Too much sauce.
For how little golf I've played, I was impressed by how much that thing spun, but we'll take it.
Earlier this week, I had dinner with some people that are involved with the Miami Heat, and our company, Proventus, is starting to work with more and more athletes and athletic trainers and strength performance coaches, and how we plug into that. And you know, we're going to work with Duncan Robinson,
Michigan guy.
Yeah, Michigan guy.
Michigan man.
And that, I mean, talk about an unbelievable story in terms of getting the most out of what God gave you.
Just a kid from New England, really.
Yeah, and so one of the guys, this was while I think, you know, Duncan, maybe it's his senior year, and says, you know, what are you going to do after, you know, school, after basketball?
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to keep playing. I'm going to play basketball.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you're going to, you know, play in Europe? He's like, no, I'm going to
play the NBA.
Play the NBA.
I like that.
So he sent this particular guy a screenshot of his contract when, you know, when he made $90 million.
Yeah. So I think he's good. He doesn't have to go overseas. I asked with a caveat,
but like, what's you know, in terms of what you're interested in, and probably you don't have much time to think about anything but today or tomorrow.
I don't much time to think about anything other than football, and I think I'd echo what Duncan said of just, man, I'm gonna keep trying to play football.
Yeah.
Just because I love it, and keep chasing it, because that's kind of who I am at heart. But I do know at some point, oh, great shot. I do know it's a really good shot. Oh, go in.
Go in.
Wow, look at that. Well done. I do know at some point the football is going to come to an end, but I think the biggest thing for me is just finding something that like I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in Ross, so I get exposed to a lot of different things and probably end up doing something in business, but I think just like something that I can be competitive in and enjoy, and like I know that if like I think I've showed myself that like if I really care about something, whether it's football, whether it's golf, like I can get good at it and commit myself to it. And if I can find something to do like that I enjoy, I don't love everything about football, right? Like sometimes waking up at 6 a.m. isn't fun, right? Or like sometimes whatever it is, like isn't like, you know, it's like, man, like sometimes you ask yourself why you do it. So not everything has to be great all the time and I have to love it all the time, but at least something that I enjoy and feel like I'm making a difference and doing something that I like, that I know that I'll commit myself to it. And like just the way my personality is, I know that like I'll be competitive about it and try to do a good job. So
well, I'll use this is a Seinfeld line. Like everyone say, life is short, life is short. He's like, life is long. And I kind of agree. Like you have so much time. Like, you know, I'm 45, I'll date myself, and I feel like I have a lot, like I'll do something until hopefully I can't.
Yeah.
You know, and so, yeah, play football as long as you can, and whatever you get into, I know you'll be successful.
Find a way.
Yeah,
you know,
you'll find a way.
dude, thanks for having me. This was awesome.
This was so fun. I sing your praises more than you know. I think you're a special human being. I think the qualities that you exude are so admirable, and just keep doing you.
Thanks.
Keep trusting yourself.
Yeah.
I know whatever you do in life, you're going to be successful in. When football comes to an end, I would love to talk to you about what we're up to.
We can figure that out.
I would never bet against you. Michigan's lucky to have you. The community's lucky to have you. The leadership that you show, like I said, it's easy to be a good leader when things are going well.
It is, yeah.
Your attitude has never wavered, and
thanks.
you know, it's just been special to watch your journey.
I appreciate your friendship and allowing me to come in here and, you know, this man cave and enjoy it, and even
fun.
getting to see the other conversations that you've had with people and exposing myself to, you know, cool things other people are doing and the mindsets, and I'm always searching for that next little bit, and I think some of the stuff that you've thrown out already has been like gold. So I really appreciate you letting me be a part of it.
Oh, this set the bar. This is amazing. This is so fun. I mean, this was just fun. This wasn't even
totally. And
doesn't feel like work.
Like you said, like we kind of rehashed. This is exactly what we did, you know, 6 months ago, and it's just there's even more to it now. So it's just been cool, and it's too bad the golf season's coming to a close here in Michigan, but we'll find a way to keep getting in here and enjoying it. So.
And I definitely want to get out west too, and
you gotta make it happen.
It's so great to meet your family and your dad. It's it's just it's been great. So I do want you to have the opportunity to talk to a good friend of mine, Morgan Jones, Dr. Jones. He's a blood doctor, does a ton of research here in Ann Arbor. He's just a good friend. Our kids go to school together. That's another great part of University of Michigan and
just being around
the Ann Arbor community. There's a lot of smart, successful kind of people that are dedicating their lives to helping others. Awesome. And, you know, I think you can certainly help so many that get this diagnosis and feel those same things you felt. He deals more with adult diagnosis, and, you know, your particular type of leukemia is more prevalent there. And so anyways, I think it would just be cool for
and I haven't ventured much into the adult side. I've done a lot with kids, but I think that was the other thing, is just being able to make a difference, and like that question that you ask yourself of why gets answered when you get to meet kids and make a difference in their lives, and it makes it pretty special. So that'll be cool. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.